Now at 6 on Time Warner Cable News on ABC 45, a morning fire destroys a Reedsville church. How firefighters fought that blaze.
Plaintiffs in a lawsuit against the State Transportation Department over the Northern Beltway hail an appeals court ruling. I'm Ed Scannell in Winston-Salem. I'll have that story just ahead.
And ECU Board of Trustees votes to change the name of a residence hall. We'll explain the decision they made.
You're watching Time Warner Cable News on ABC 45.
And thanks for joining us tonight. I'm Cheryn Stone. Those stories are coming right up. First, here at 6 o'clock, meteorologist Doug Lindsay is here with the first check of your Weather on the One's forecast. Doug, it is still cold.
It is still cold, but you know, it's not as cold as it was this time yesterday, but well, it was bitter cold this morning. A record-shattering low of 6 degrees. The high made it to 27. Now, we've just dropped from that high down to 24, but the winds are calm. We don't have wind chills to deal with. We'll break it all down for you in your full forecast in just a little bit.
Breaking now, Duke Energy reached a proposed agreement with the federal government on federal charges related to the Dan River coal ash spill. The company would be charged with 9 misdemeanors for violating the Clean Water Act. Duke would also pay $68.2 million in fines and restitution and $34 million for community service and mitigation. The company says the fines will be covered by shareholders, not the customers. Duke also agreed to the 9 misdemeanor violations of the Clean Water Act. Their proposal has to be approved by the U.S. District Court for the Eastern District of North Carolina. Last year, thousands of tons of coal ash spilled into the Dan River from a broken pipe at the Dan River Steam Station. Fire devastated the Mount Carmel United Methodist Church in Rockingham County this morning. The call first came in around 10:45. Crews spent hours at that scene trying to bring the fire under control. Our Bob Costner is live in Reedsville with an update. Bob.
Well, Sharon, what you're looking at now is construction crews knocking down part of the walls at Mount Carmel United Methodist Church in Reedsville. What they're trying to do is free up the steeple with the cross on top of it, save it. So they're knocking down the walls. Part of them are already unstable because of the fire here. It has been a devastating fire and day for the members of the church here. They say that their prayers and hopefully another church with this steeple will rise from the rubble here. Mount Carmel United Methodist Church was left a smoking shell by the fire that was reported just before 11 a.m.
We will not be defeated because of this. If you see the cross is the one thing that's standing.
Okay, so what you're seeing here is a live picture of construction crews knocking down part of the walls of Mount Carmel United Methodist Church. They're trying to loosen the steeple up so they can pull it out, save the steeple and the cross on top of it when they rebuild this church. So far they haven't determined the cause of this fire that devastated this church here, and because of the destruction, they may never determine the cause. In Reedsville, Bob Costner, Time Warner Cable News on ABC 45.
Plaintiffs in a lawsuit against the state over the Northern Beltway in Winston-Salem are applauding a North Carolina appeals court ruling. The 3-judge panel is sending the lawsuit back to Forsyth County Superior Court, saying the court made an error when it declined to hear 11 property owners' claims. As Ed Scannell tells us, owners have been seeking payment for their properties, which they say have been held in limbo for years.
The suit centers around NCDOT's use of the MAP Act, a state law that allows the agency to restrict development of properties in the path of a planned state road. In Winston-Salem, Ed Scannell, Time Warner Cable News.
Bryant expects the NC Department of Justice to take the case to the state Supreme Court. The Justice Department's Noelle Talley says attorneys are reviewing the ruling and talking about it with transportation officials. She says they've made no decision on next steps in this case. By a unanimous vote, the ECU Board of Trustees has approved a name change for Aycock Residence Hall. That decision was met by applause by the 100 people attending today's board meeting. Charles Aycock is a former governor of North Carolina who is also known as being a white supremacist. Students have asked for the hall to be renamed. However, the issue has been tabled several times. Board members say Aycock's legacy to education will be better served in the overall history of ECU in the future Heritage Hall.
We will transition the name of Charles B. Aycock from where it sits now on a residence hall to provide his recognition and describe his role in our founding into that Heritage Hall.
There's no time frame for when the Aycock Residence Hall will be coming down or renamed. NC State Chancellor Randy Woodson announced a special $60,000 scholarship endowment today. The R3 Winners Scholarship honors the 3 students murdered in the Chapel Hill shooting on February 10th. Dia Barakat, his wife Yusur Abu Saha, both NC State graduates. Yusur's sister Razan was a sophomore at the university. NC State Chancellor Randy Woodson says the school is accepting donations for the scholarship to help more students. Those interested in helping can log on to ncsu.edu to find out some more information. Opposition to a proposal to amend a non-discrimination ordinance is picking up some steam. The changes would extend protections to gay, lesbian, and transgender people. Some religious leaders are opposing the measure, especially the part of the proposal that would allow transgender individuals to use the restroom of their choice. Reverend Franklin Graham calls the idea ridiculous and unsafe. Caroline Vandergriff has more.
It's definitely a civil rights issue.
Members and advocates of the LGBT community in Charlotte say it's time for the city to change its non-discrimination policy. In Charlotte, Caroline Vandergriff, Time Warner Cable News.
Charlotte City Council will vote on the amendment to the non-discrimination ordinances Monday, March 2nd. The Don't Do It Charlotte group plans to hold a rally at the government center before that vote. And still to come here at 6 o'clock.
We're seeing a lot more frozen ponds forming with these colder temperatures. And while they may be tempting to walk on, hear about the potential dangers they pose if you try.
I'm meteorologist Doug Lindsay. The bitter cold leaving us, now a warm front heading our way, actually could lead to some frozen precipitation early on Saturday. Details coming up in your Weather on the Ones forecast.
Bitter cold has spread across the state. Meteorologists and historians say these low temperatures are rare, but not unheard of. Some areas broke record lows this morning. Greensboro beat the record of 14 degrees set February 20th, 1934, but historians say that's not even close to the city's lowest recorded temperature.
We have a presentation came inscribed with the fact that the temperature went to 15 degrees below zero on January 10th, 1881. It got so cold that all the evergreen trees in Greensboro died.
North Carolina's history also includes some impressive snowfall. In 1927, nearly 2 feet of snow fell in Greensboro in 24 hours. With these extremely cold temperatures across the Tar Heel state, many ponds are freezing over. They may be tempting to cross. Kristen Drummond explains the dangers of walking on thin ice.
It was a devastating moment for Nakia Ford. Her 8-year-old son, Carmelo, died after falling through the ice on a pond at a Salisbury Park last month. In Guilford County, Kristen Drummond, Time Warner Cable News.
With warmer temperatures expected, emergency personnel warn ice will begin to thin even more on ponds. If someone does fall through, you should call 911. And farmers across the state are working extra hours to protect their crops during these sub-freezing temperatures. They say while the cold weather isn't going to kill their crops, it's going to slow things down this year. That's why many are taking a wait-and-see approach. Farmers are also taking extra care of their livestock, making sure the animals' water isn't frozen and feeding them plenty of food. And here's tonight's Carolina Minute. Closing arguments are underway in the court-martial of a Camp Lejeune Marine who's charged with desertion. Corporal Wasa Passoon is accused of deserting from the Marines in Iraq in 2004 and again from Camp Lejeune in 2005. During the 2-week trial, prosecutors said he was unhappy with the Marines and fled to Lebanon by choice. However, his defense said he was kidnapped. 2 newly released reports show higher education on the coast is having a positive economic impact. That data shows UNCW and Cape Fear Community College alumni contribute some $800 million to southeastern North Carolina's economy. Overall, the two institutions generate more than $1 billion in additional income for the region. After more than a year of planning, work on the Carolina Beach Hampton Inn will soon be underway. The groundbreaking for the beachfront hotel happened this afternoon. Carolina Beach Mayor said the hotel will be a welcome addition to the newly renovated boardwalk. These stories and more available at any time on Time Warner Cable News. Well, stocks ended this week on a high note. Let's get the latest on the economy now from our team on Wall Street.
I'm Diane King-Hall from the floor of the New York Stock Exchange. Well, both the Dow and S&P 500 vault to new all-time highs today, thanks to the extension of a debt deal in Greece. By the close, the Dow Industrials rallied 154 points. The Nasdaq gained 31. The S&P 500 added 12. The company recently hired a new CEO who started the job a little more than a month ago. From the floor of the New York Stock Exchange, I'm Diane King-Hall.
And Doug's back after this quick break with your forecast.
Welcome back, everybody, and a very good Friday evening to you. I'm meteorologist Doug Lindsay. Weather on the ones time, kicking it off with a DOT camera view, live view, I-40 and I-840. The typical Friday evening commute, a little bit late in the commute, so it's not too busy, and everybody seems to be moving along fine, sharing the roadway very nicely, a roadway that is nice and dry, at least for now. That's nice. And that is your Weather on the Ones forecast. Cheryn?
All right, thank you, Doug. Now here's Mike with sports.
NASCAR has suspended driver Kurt Busch indefinitely. On Friday, a Delaware family court commissioner issued his opinion detailing the domestic violence acts allegedly committed by Busch against his ex-girlfriend, Patricia Driscoll. NASCAR thus responding by suspending him. Regan Smith fills in for Busch this weekend in the Daytona 500. Sprint Cup Series season opener, of course, coming Sunday. All Hendrick drivers occupying spots 1, 2, and 3 in the starting grid, but plenty of chatter about that second dual 150 race. Danica Patrick involved in a late spin. She claimed Denny Hamlin spun her out. Nearly an identical incident to Danica's practice wreck on Wednesday. It forced her to a backup car. She finished the race 10th. She starts 20th on Sunday, but she was steamed after the spin. Much more on the Kurt Busch indefinite suspension coming up at 11 o'clock. I'm Mike Solarte, and that's sports at 6.
And that is our time here at 6. Hope to see you back here at 11 o'clock.